Welcome to Hack the File. I'm Michael Lopez, and on today's episode, we're going to be looking at Chapter 14 Pivoting and Privilege Escalations on the Ethical Hacking book series. Enjoy. All right, we're back, and I am happy. We're almost done with this ethical hacking book. I have learned a tremendous amount about how hackers hack into systems and what techniques they use and all that stuff. And I'm excited to get into this next chapter, pivoting and privilege escalations, just because it's going to give us an idea on how hackers do that. Okay, and we're probably not going to master it, but we're gonna tinker around with it and do some cool stuff. So I'm really excited about this chapter. And then I think we only have two more chapters and we're done. I mean, we have came a long way. I mean, I think this took us maybe, if I look back, a year to get through this book. I mean, I'm doing a lot of other videos, so but still it took about a year to get through this book. If you're focusing on this book and just this book, and you're not trying to make videos and all that stuff, and you're just wanting to get through it, you can get through it, I would say, in less than 3 months, or maybe less than 6 months. How about that? And I'm excited though. Almost done, and we're wrapping it up. We're getting into the subjects that are really fun, and they're getting a little more difficult though. So, all right, here we go. Pivoting and privilege escalations. Now, this is once you've already infiltrated the network. What I cannot create, I do not understand. Richard Feynman. By this point in the book, we've explored many ways of compromising a single machine, but attackers often want full control of the entire private network they're targeting. With full control of the network, the attacker can move freely from machine to machine, extracting information and implanting malware as they please. Moreover, once the attacker has control of the network, removing them can be very difficult because they could be hiding anywhere. In this chapter, we'll explore two techniques for moving through the network. First, you'll learn a pivoting technique that attackers can use to gain access to a private network by routing traffic through a dual-homed machine with access to both a public network and a private network. I want to read that one more time. I didn't understand that. First, you'll learn a pivoting technique that attackers can use to gain access to a private network by routing traffic through a dual homed machine. With access to both private network and public network and private network. Second, we'll extract user credentials from a machine's memory using a privilege escalation attack. In some cases, we can use the stolen credentials to log into another machine on a private network. Using stolen credentials is one of the best ways an attacker can move around in the network. Pivoting from a dual-homed device. We often refer to networks that are open to anyone as public networks. For example, the internet is a public network. On the other hand, networks that are closed to the public, such as networks inside an organization, are called private networks. However, users on a private network will often need access to resources on the public network, such as the internet. For example, employees in a corporation still need access to Google. Thus, companies often use firewalls to safely bridge the public network, the internet in this case, and the private corporation network. Because the firewall is connected to both the public and private networks, we refer to the machine running the firewall as dual homed devices. Refer to the machine running the firewall as a dual home device. Dual home devices are critical for attackers because most attackers on a public network who hope to access an organization's private network must pass through this firewall. Routing traffic through a dual home machine to gain access to a network is a technique called pivoting. Let me read that again. Routing traffic through a dual home machine, to gain access to a network is called pivoting. Let's set up a test network to demonstrate pivoting. We'll compromise the metasplittable virtual machine, which we'll configure as a dual home device and use it as a proxy. We'll compromise the metasplittable virtual machine, which we'll configure as a dual home device. And use it so it can access the internet and our private network. And use it as a proxy to access private network. A proxy is like a gate to access the private network. What my private network? To attack an Ubuntu virtual machine. So we're using it to gain. We're using the metasplittable machine to gain access to our network to attack our virtual Ubuntu machine. So our virtual Ubuntu machine has to be on the private network. I don't know. Configuring a dual home device. The pfSense machine in our virtual environment is an example of a dual home device because it acts as a bridge between our private network and the public network. However, we don't want to compromise our PS machine in our pivoting demonstration. It protects our devices from being attacked from real attackers on the internet. Instead, we'll convert the metasplittable virtual machine into a dual home device and attach it to another private network containing the virtual machine. Okay, so it's a theoretical, well, not theoretical, it's a example. So we're going to take our metasplittable virtual machine into a dual home device and attach it to another private network containing an Ubuntu virtual. We're going to create a network inside a network. Figure 14.1 depicts the networks we'll be attacking. Here's your internet. Here's the pfSense dual home machine. Kali. Here's the metasplittable server. Okay, yeah. So it's gonna be connected to the Ubuntu and our PF route to connect to the internet. So yeah, so the dual would be what? The metasplittable server and the Ubuntu connected together. A little network, and then they're connected to that. Kind of Linux is going to be hacking into everything. The metasplittable server's primary interface is denoted at 1. This is the interface we'll connect to our simulated public network containing the Kali Linux virtual machine. The second interface, 2, is connected to a private network. Okay, hold on. The metasplittable server's primary interface is at 1. This is the interface we'll connect to our simulated public network containing the Kali. Okay, so yeah, this is the public network. And this is the private network. The second interface is connected to the private network. this. Our goal is to compromise the Metasploitable machine on the public network and use it to route traffic from the primary interface to the private network on the secondary interface. But first, we must set up the virtual environment. We'll begin by enabling the second interface on the Metasploitable virtual machine and then connected it to the private network. To do this, navigate Metasploitable settings in VirtualBox. To do this, navigate the Metasploitable settings on VirtualBox. Here we go. Well, let me show you the VirtualBox. Here's VirtualBox. Click on Metasploitable settings. Select the Network tab. Click the second adapter. Is it because it's running? Won't let me select it properly. So you might have right click it, stop, save state, and go here, network. Oh. You have to come here and you have to start it real quick, I guess. Might have to power it off. I can come in here. Yeah, no. So you have to have it powered off. Can't have it in save state or running, so you have to power it off. Then come here and go to settings. And go to network and adapter. Enable network adapter. Network 1, network 2. Select network tab. Click on the second adapter and then enable it. Name the private network private LAN. So it's is it bridge? Is it network? What does it want to say? Internal network is what it's showing. So internal network, private LAN. Name private LAN. Next, we must assign an IP address to the interface we've just enabled. We'll do that by editing the Metasploitable server's network interface file. Run the following command to open the file in Vim, which comes pre-installed on Metasploitable. So now we're gonna start the Metasploitable. It's powering up. Nice cold coffee. Okay. Let that sucker warm up like an old V8. MSF admin. That's how you get logged in, right? Okay, now it wants me to run what? Follow the command. Okay, what are we doing though? Next, we must assign the IP address. Okay, to the interface we just enabled. So we're gonna do it with Vim. We'll go sudo vim etc network interface. MSF admin. Okay, we got Vim open. If you don't know what Vim is, Google it. Just gonna tell you right now, anyways. When you open the file, you should see the primary interface defined at one. Interface. Why isn't that? Really? No wonder that didn't work. Alright, so sometimes you have to look at what command they're giving you. So this guy is giving me sudo vim etc network. So he's obviously trying to open up interface, which is the text file that has our interface in it, right? But this, if you don't have this file, I think it just creates a new file in that directory called or whatever, or I don't know what it does, but it sure in hell, if you don't, if that's not called interface, it ain't gonna work, right? So this is what you do if stuff, because I tried this and it wasn't working, and it was opening up a new file and it was doing some weird stuff, and I'm like, what's going on here? I just want to see just trying to open up a file. So what we're gonna do is to get around that. If you look at it and it's not working, and you're like, wait a minute, it's not working. Look at to see what he's trying to get you to do. He's trying to get you to open up that file and look at it, right? So it's saying, which comes pre-installed. He's using Vim, which is a editing application. Opens things up, whatever. I hate it because it has its own stuff that you have to commands that you have to look up. But anyways, we're gonna have to do that. It says when you open the file, so he's having us open a file, right there, but it's obviously not called that because it doesn't work for me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ls this where we're at, right? Or pwd it. So we're in MSM home. So now we're gonna say, okay, let's move to. We're gonna change directory to etc first, right? Oh, hold on. That's where he wants us to go. Because he wants us to go to etc networks interface. Let's go to etc first, right? Now we're in etc. As you can see, it changed. I'm gonna ls it and see what. Actually, let's go to network. So let's change directory again, and let's just change, instead of doing etc. There's too many directories, and let's go to network. I'm sure network is going to be in here. If not, we're gonna have to find it. See, it's no such file. How do I scroll up on this stupid? I hate doing this metasploitable crap. So we're in etc. Network interface. It says network. It does say network right there. So network's right there. I don't see why it's not. It is, I'm sure, a directory. Alright, now we're in network. Okay, so CD network. We're in network now. So now we're going to ls this. And there's interfaces. It's not interface, it's interfaces on this. So, I mean, of course, so this is something you got to do when you're working with these books. You just got to figure out what they're trying to have you do. And then you're going to have to get there on your own, okay? And if you're new to cyber, I mean, we're pretty far in this book. You should know how to navigate a directory by command line. If not, you're gonna have to Google it or go back to a bunch of old videos and start, because right now we're towards the end of this series and book. If you don't understand how to navigate through basic command line, it's going to be very, very challenging for you to get through this book anyways, right? So now we're in network, it's interfaces, we're going to vim it. Okay, so we're going to vim, like I said, it's an edit tool, interfaces. It's going to be interfaces, not interface. Now we are opening it, and this is the file I'm assuming that he wants us to look at, because if you match it up, this file describes the network interfaces, this file describes the network interfaces available on your system, and how to activate them. For more information, see interfaces 5. That's exactly what we're looking at over here. That's what we're looking at over here. The loopback network interface auto LO, the loopback auto LO, interface loopback, the primary network. Okay, so it doesn't have any secondary network interface. I don't know why, because we just added it. Alright, when you open the file, you should see the primary interface defined at 1, right? That's what we have. This interface is usually connected to the public network. The value of iFace etho refers to Ethernet etho, or ETH0. I don't know. I just call it etho interface. See chapter 1 for discussion on interfaces. We already did that. Next, init represents IP4. So that would be on this line here, or right here. And DHCP means will allow the dynamic host configuration protocol DHCP server to assign an IP address to the interface. DHCP is the protocol routers normally use to assign IP addresses to the machine when they join the network. For example, your home Wi-Fi router has a DHCP server built in it, meaning that your laptop uses DHCP protocol to obtain an IP address when it connects. This ensures that your laptop doesn't use the same IP address as the machine already connected to your network. Alternatively, a value of static means that we manually assign the IP address. That's what we're going to do. We'll configure the second interface and set it to have a static IP4 address of this of 10.0.0.1, and then set the subnet mask to 255.255.255.0. Save the file and then start the ETH1 interface by running the following command. So, what are we going to do? Enter in this? Yes, that's what it said to do. So, first things first, I hate Vim. I hate it. I can never remember what the commands are. They're just so weird to edit a damn file. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna go to Copilot. I love Copilot. Editing commands. Insert mode. Press I. Alright, that's easy enough. Delete. Copy and paste. Undo, redo. Save file. Save file. Escape. Then semicolon W. Never remember that. I don't know why. I don't use Vim a lot. If I used Vim a lot, maybe. I don't. Alright. We're gonna copy this. So I'm gonna press I, insert, changing a read-only file. Warning. I don't care. I'm gonna go down. And what does it say? Okay. Loop, primary, interface, There's no secondary. Where the heck is that? Now we're just putting in a comment. So we're just copying basically the same format as the primary, right? Because you want to get your spacing in and all that stuff, right? So I face E1 init static instead of the DHCP address. Then you want to do 10. Oh, shit. You want to do 10 dot 0 dot 0 dot 1 net mask 255 dot 255 dot 255 0. Okay, let's double check it. Auto ETH1 iFace ETH1 init static address address 10.0.0.1 net mask. Yep, net mask. Is that net mask? 255.255.255.0. Okay, that looks good. Alright, how do you save this? Press escape. Whatever the hell that is. Colon? No, semicolon. I don't even know what it's called. Alright, so we're going to press escape. Do that. W. Random mouse. Add to it. What? Add. Okay, so I'm gonna override that. Interfaces E212 can't open file for writing. Ridiculous. This is the type of crap I hate. Okay, so escape. Interfaces is read only. Okay, how do you change? Man, we're gonna have to enter that again. How do you just quit this crap? Quit without saving. Escape. Quit. Oh my gosh. Nobody cares. Man. see the permissions, interfaces. So I am root. I am root. Group owner. I can only read and write. I can't. What is the next one? The group. Nothing. Just read. Okay, let's see. It's a file. I can read, write. I can't execute. Read, write. So why am I not? Did I not open it in sudo? I didn't. Sudo. What the? Yeah. No. Vim. I forgot to put sudo. I think. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna have to do this again because I didn't open it sudo. Because I am stupid. So, alright, let's do this again, but it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, next. Sorry, next. Oh, damn. God, I hate this crap. Auto ETH1, iFace, ETH1, init, static, net mask. Alright, let's double check that. The secondary network interface comment. Auto ETH1, iFace, ETH1, init, static, address, address 10.0.0.1, netmask 252525. Okay, perfect. We're gonna escape W. There you go. And we're gonna escape quit. I want to see if it. I'm gonna cat it. To see if it to make sure it saved it. Yep, it did. So now we checked it. The secondary network interface is saved. Great. So that's how you troubleshoot through all that stuff. I guess I didn't have it in sudo, that's why I didn't want it. And so the only one that had read and write was the owner or sudo. So that's how I did that. I looked it up, LS'd it, -L or to see if what the permissions were, and then I remembered that I didn't do it in sudo because this wanted us in sudo to have super user on it. Anyways, let's move on. We got that done. All right, and then you guys are gonna might get stuck too on that. So I showed you how to get through that. All right. Okay, we already did that part. Now it says we'll configure the second interface and set it to have a static IP address of that, and then set the subnet mask of that. Save the file, then start the Ether1 interface by running the following command: sudo IP link set dev. Okay, I hope that works. And he's in his Metasploitable home directory. So let's go home. So let's and we could just do CD, and then you could press yeah. Okay, now we're in home, so we're in the same directory as him. He's in sudo, so we're just gonna have to do sudo IP link set dev eth1 up. Okay, lastly, restart the network interface by sudo. Hopefully this works. Sudo etc /init.d. I don't know if that's called that. Network in restart. That looked like it worked. Okay. Etho. Alright. Let's see. Hopefully that worked. Looks like it did. Connect a machine to your private network. Now that we've set up a dual home machine, which is the Metasploitable machine, we can move the Ubuntu virtual machine to our new private network. However, as soon as we do, it is no longer access to the internet. So before we move it, let's take the opportunity to configure it. We'll use the OpenSSH to log into the Ubuntu machine. OpenSSH is an open source implementation of SSH server that allows users to connect to a machine using SSH. Log into your Ubuntu virtual machine and install OpenSSH server. Alright, let's do that. Ah, shoot. I forgot. And password is of this. Dang. There you go. One of those damn passwords. All right. Sudo. Okay. So sudo. All right. So let's open up a terminal. I'm gonna open up a terminal here on my desktop. I'm going to do sudo apt get install open ssh server. Oh my god. Done. Yes. Now let's do sudo system ctl enable ssh enable created link. Okay, it's ready. Once the installation completes, move your Ubuntu virtual machine to the private network by updating the interface in VirtualBox to connect to private LAN. Private LAN. Okay, so we're going to shut this down because we have to. Okay, and then we're going to come over here to the Ubuntu victim machine, settings, network, and we're going to go to internal network, but we're going to go private LAN. Okay, so now it's connected to the private LAN. Next, you'll need to assign an IP address to the interfaces on the Ubuntu virtual machine. This is because our private network doesn't have a DHCP. Yes, set the static IP on your Ubuntu virtual machine by opening Settings. Okay. I'm gonna have to restart my Ubuntu machine. Ubuntu. Alright. We're on the Ubuntu machine. Select network. Click settings. So where's the network? Settings. Gear icon. Click IP4. So network. IP4 tab. So let's open this. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to open this all the way so we can see better. Go to view, full screen mode. Alright, so select network, click settings, click IP4 tab. So network. I don't see no IP4 tab. Manual. Dot 0.0.15. Gateway 10. 1. So this is the address. This is the net mask. There's my gateway. Okay, we'll apply that. Go here. IP4. Yep. So here's the address, yeah, and here's the default router. Perfect. So it worked, and it's in the wired one, because these are all wired. Maybe this is why I didn't check this network. This is why that I wasn't getting any viruses or anything uploaded to this, because I think it was connected to my pfSense firewall or something. I don't know. I gotta figure out why I couldn't get a lot of stuff to work on this, and I probably still won't be able to. But that's set up. Check that you can access the Metasploitable server from the Ubuntu virtual machine by pinging it. If you reach the Metasploitable server, you should get the following with no packets locked. Alright, let's do that. I'm going to ping that. So we're pinging the gateway, which is the Metasploitable server. Ping 1. So yeah, it looks like it's getting. Yep. So we're getting connection ping to the Metasploitable gateway server. Bytes of data. Well, golden. I mean, we can even let it run, but I don't know if it runs. Crap ton of time. You got set how long you want that to run, no? There you go. Press the wrong one. So we just did a Control C to stop it, and it gave us 17 packets transmitted, 17 received, 0 packets lost. So it's pinging. It's connected. Okay. It says press Control C to end the ping. Although your Ubuntu virtual machine can reach the Metasploitable machine, it doesn't have access to anything outside the private network. Similarly, no machines outside the private network can access the Ubuntu virtual machine. This means that you've correctly set up your dual home machine and private network. Now let's discuss how you can gain access to the private network by compromising the Metasploitable machine and transferring it into a bridge between the virtual environment (LAN) and the private environment and the private LAN. Let me read this one more time. Now let's discuss how you can gain access to the private network, which is the Ubuntu machine, by compromising the Metasploitable machine and transforming it into a bridge between the virtual environment's internal LAN, which is the pfSense, and the private LAN, which is what? The Ubuntu? We commonly refer to this as bridge proxy, which is a program that takes data from one connection and passes it to another. You can think of it as an intermediary that facilitates a connection between two machines. That's exactly what I thought it was. I mean, why do you have to think of it like that? Pivoting with Metasploit. How many minutes we got in this? Pivoting with Metasploit. The Metasploit framework has a built-in proxy capability. So let's use it to execute a pivoting attack from start to finish. We'll begin by scanning the Metasploitable server from our Kali Linux virtual machine. Once we've found a vulnerability, we'll exploit it and upload a reverse shell. Then we'll check to see if the Metasploitable server has access to multiple networks. After we've discovered that it does, we'll use the Metasploitable server as a proxy to access the private network containing our Ubuntu machine. Then we'll use stolen SSH credentials to log in to the Ubuntu virtual machine on the private network and upload another reverse shell. Lastly, we'll control the reverse shell in the private LAN by routing our commands through the proxy on the Metasploitable server. So how does that simulate? So that simulates getting into the Metasploitable that has access to the internet and the private network. So that would be what? Simulating like a firewall? Let's get started. Scan the Metasploitable server using a vulnerability scanner like the ones we discussed in Chapter 8. Man, I have to pause this and go look. Scan the Metasploitable. Oh, okay, we're just scanning. We're using Nmap then. The next pose vulnerability scanner allows you to perform scans from the Metasploit console. Keep in mind that these scanners use heuristics, meaning that they might incorrectly identify vulnerabilities. Thus, you might need to try multiple vulnerabilities before you discover one that gives you access to the machine. We discussed scanning in Chapter 8, so I'll assume you already have identified some vulnerabilities. For variety, instead of exploiting our trusty FTP vulnerability, let's exploit a vulnerability in the Postgres server that lets us upload a reverse shell by exploiting a configuration error. If you haven't already, start Metasploit on your Kali Linux. Alright, let's do that. Alright, before we do that, let's go ahead and run a vulnerability scan, okay? Now, we're going to do that because it says that it's in the book, I can already assume you did that, but when you're following these books, don't skip steps. It's just going to confuse you. So it's saying we're halfway through, we're almost done with this book. You should know how to run a vulnerability scan. So I'm not going to skip that step, and I'm going to run it. That way we understand what step we're in, right? Like, what would you do? So first thing is we're going to run a vulnerability scan from our Linux, and I'm going to do that first, okay? But I'm going to actually run different things. So I'm going to run net discover first, right? So I want net discover is going to let me know. Okay, so I'm going to put sudo and then bring this command line kung fu. So now it's going to run a net scan, and it's going to tell me which IP addresses and MAC addresses and all that are on this network, and it's going to tell me which ones are which, right? So usually their smallest one is your firewall or whatever. So we're gonna run. So this one, it's got to be my Metasploitable, and it is because I verified the MAC address, right? And you can do that by looking at your manager. Go to your Metasploitable settings, and then go to your network advanced, and then you can see down here your MAC addresses for adapter 1 is 65B3, right? And that's the address, and here's your MAC 65B3. So that's my Metasploitable that it's picking up, right? So it's 1.100. So we've got that pulled up. Okay, I'll open another one, and I'm gonna run an Nmap scan. I'm just gonna keep it simple. Nmap, and then we're gonna run that 192.168.1.100, and that did this before, so it's gonna pull it up. That one was my Metasploitable, right? 100. So, okay. So now we're gonna run that vulnerability scan, and it's just a basic scan, right? And it's gonna run it. It's gonna tell you all the ports that are open. So in the book, I said it wants to take advantage of this Postgres 5432, right? It wants to take advantage of this one, not the FTP port 21. It wants to take advantage of the Postgres port 5432. So we ran our scan. We know what vulnerabilities it has. So now let's do the rest of the book. I mean the next step, and so we passed this part, got our vulnerability scan. We're going to use Postgres. Now we need to open up the MSF console, right? So we'll go to Linux. We'll open up MSF console. It opens up your MSF, your Metasploitable console. And if this is the first video you've saw in this ethical hacking series, go back to the Metasploitable chapter or vulnerability tools, and you'll know what Metasploitable is or Metasploit is, and just Google it then. Metasploit's got all kinds of payloads and stuff ready to rock. Okay, so now we'll go to back to the book. Okay, and it says use exploit Linux Postgres payload. Then we'll set the IP address of the remote host. In our case, it's the IP address of the Metasploitable server. Then we'll execute the exploit by entering run. So set host to that. So we're gonna, obviously it's not gonna be that one. We're gonna set it to ours, and ours is this one, right? The 100. So I've already typed this in here a bunch of times, but I guess not. So we're gonna use move this over. Use exploit, because that's what we're using, right? We're using an exploit, and this one's in Linux, and you can find this by searching Postgres actually, let's do that. I'm going to show you where this is, like how. So if we search this, search Postgres payload, there it is, and then there's your directory, right? says rank is excellent. It's an excellent, and this has a bunch of payloads and malware on it, right? This was great about Metasploit. It was created by a pen tester that was sick of going to the vulnerability database and all this crap, so you just put it all in one application, and it was great. So exploit Linux Postgres payload. That's the one, right? Excellent. Postgres for Linux payload execution. So we're gonna copy this, and then we're gonna go use, because we're gonna use that, and then we're gonna paste that. Exploit payload, right? And then it pulls us to that directory. See, exploit pulls us to that directory where that payload's at, and now we're ready to rock with that payload. So we're now we're gonna follow this. Now we're in that payload. Now we're gonna run it, but it's yeah, it says we'll set the IP address of the remote host, our host. In our case, this is the IP address of the Metasploitable server. We'll then use to execute by putting run. So the thing is, I don't think it's gonna work if you just put the R host. Okay. Oh, it's gonna ask you for your listening post maybes, but let's go ahead and just put set. So now we're setting the receiving host. R host means receiving host. So our host is going to be the Metasploit, right? And it's 192.168.1.100. We're going to verify that by looking on this Net Discover 192.1. Yep, 1900. We know it's the second one. Set our host. And then it says to run it, right? But it says it failed, and it's because no session was created because you don't have a listening host. I mean, how is it going to set up the shell if it doesn't know which one where to listen from, right, or where to set it from? So I don't know if it does it on purpose. I don't know what. It's weird. I don't know if it's testing you. I don't know if I'm doing that wrong, but I mean, you're supposed to set the listening host, right? So set L host, and we're gonna give it our Kali Linux address, right? So how to get your Kali Linux one, right? We're gonna do an if config. Oh man. And we're 102, right? So 192.168.1.102, right? .1.102, of course, .1. Okay, so now we're gonna set that listening host, and then we're gonna run this. So now it should work. So it's listening from so I don't know what that is, but you got to set a listening host, and that's what's now it says interpreter session 1 opened. It's listening on ours, and it opened up, but now I got a interpreter console. So now we can move on with the book. See, so stuff like that you got to watch. Pretty sure I'm correct on that. I don't know if it's testing us. I don't know what's going on, but that looks like what we have. Started reverse shell, session open, boom, we got an interpreter console. Now that we have an interpreter shell, let's check the interface on the Metasploitable server. So it hacked the Metasploitable server, and I give us a shell. So let's go ipconfig and see what. Now we use that payload against this interpreter. We found that it had a bunch of vulnerabilities. So this is great. So we did a scan on our interpreter box, right, or whatever. VM. We found all these vulnerabilities that were supposedly open. That's another story. But then we'll go here to Postgres. We're gonna take advantage of this one. So we're like, okay, well, let's take advantage of a Postgres payload. We know that's open, TCP payload. Postgres payload or vulnerability. I'm sorry. Next, we searched for the Postgres payload, and even if you just put Postgres, it'll pull up one of these. And we copied that. We put it in here. We went to that directory. We set our host, which is the Metasploitable address. Okay, so that's where it's gonna go to set the payload. To run the vulnerability. And then we set the listening host because we want it to send back a shell to where it's listening. It's listening on my Kali Linux box. So listening host would be our Kali Linux box. Then we ran it, started TCP handler, and then it took the payload. It took the vulnerability, uploaded whatever. Yeah, there it is. Started reverse TCP handler. So that's what the vulnerability was, right, on Postgres. And then it opened up a session. Now I'm in that. I should be in, right? So now we're going to go ifconfig to see if it worked. And interface 1, name LO, hardware, loopback, IP address. That's telling me the two IP figs that are associated with it. And here's the one that we scanned on discovery and got, and then here's the one that we added. So that's awesome. It means that I'm in the interpreter. I'm penetrated. That's why it's called pen testing. I have penetrated this my Metasploitable box. Okay, and that's what it's showing. Interface 3. It's saying interface 3, but it pulled up everything. For simplicity, I've omitted the loopback. Okay, yeah, that's right. In this output, as these are always present in network connected devices. We see a new interface, 1, and that's the one that we added, which indicates that the machine is connected to another network. That's the other network. We can now add a route that allows us to send traffic from virtual environment LAN to the private LAN 2. And that's the one that we added, right? So here's the interface and here's the address. Private one. Here's the private one. A route is an entry in the network table that instructs the operating system how to forward packets between interfaces. A route is an entry in the network table, that instructs the operating system how to forward packets between interfaces. Once we've added the route, we'll send the interpreter session to the background so that we can access the original Metasploit console. Deselect the current module using the back command. Run auto route background. Wait a minute. To the background so that we can access the original Metasploit console. Deselect the current module using the back command. Okay, yeah. So now, what the? No clue what that means. Why do we want to do that? We want to run. Once we've added the route, we'll send the mature. Okay, so it wants us to run the route. So I was going to say, okay, so run auto route -s and then 10. We're going to enter in this, right? Because we want to get into that private network. So it says that auto route is deprecated. Adding a route, so it maybe added it anyways, I guess. I don't know. All right, let me look that up. No, the auto route module in Metasploit is not deprecated. It is actively used for managing routes. Interpreter scripts are deprecated. Try post multi-manage auto route. Did I not spell it right? It did. Run post multi-manage auto route. What did I put? Run adding a route. So it added it though. Adding route to. Yeah, so it looks like it worked. Let's do background. So put that in the background. Now I can, and then I can use the, go back to the exploit. Let's just hope that that added that route. If not, we're gonna have to go back and we know that that's a problem, right? Okay, we're gonna have to use a new one. Okay, now let's load a reverse shell onto the Ubuntu virtual machine. Although you could simply log into Ubuntu to do this, we'll simulate a real attack scenario by assuming that you don't know the credentials ahead of time. Instead, let's pretend you've obtained several credentials during the OSINT phase of the attack that you can now use in the dictionary-based attack. We'll try each of these credentials and hope that one of them allows us to log into the SSH server. Create a file on your Kali Linux desktop containing the username and password of the Ubuntu machine called Ubuntu password.txt. Each username and password pair should be on its own line with the username and password separated by a space. Each username and password pair should be on its own line. Victim 123, user trust no one. So what is this? Add some dummy credentials, but remember to include the username and password for your Ubuntu machine so that you can access the machine. Okay, so here's an example. Victim 1234, user 1, trust no one. So create a file. Ubuntu passwords.txt. Each username password pair, so it has to be the username then password, should be on its own line. Username and password separated by a space. Okay. Ubuntu passwords.txt. So let's do that. We'll close this. We'll close this. We'll close this. And we're just going to do this the easy way. So I'm going to say create empty file. And instead of using the command line, which we can, but I want to save time. Ubuntu and And we're just gonna add a bunch of fake passwords, but when it's talking about the OSINT research, um, you can go to somebody's Facebook, their social media. You can do Google Dorking. You can use applications, all kinds of stuff to gather information you want to put in here, like their family pets, their dogs, their aunts, your uncles. Somebody's posting a picture saying, "I love my uncle." Maybe he uses his uncle as a password. So I'm gonna say Jack, and then we'll just do password one. And then maybe like my aunt Trisha. So Trisha one, username, and then or the guy's, or her name, their name is let's see, Tony. Let's say Tony, and then he loves his dog, and his dog's name is Bowser. My dog Bowser. One, maybe add that on there. I don't know, right? And so this is how you're creating a profile. Now I'm gonna put mine in here, and I don't want nobody to see, obviously, right? So we're gonna go ahead and pause this, and then we're ready to rock. And then I'm gonna put my real password in there for the virtual machine. All right, so now that we got that created, let's go. All right, we already did this. Use this file in a dictionary base attack on the SSH server. We'll begin by selecting Metasploit's SSH login module. Then we set the remote host, supply the password file, and then run the module. We'll begin by selecting Metasploit's SSH login module. So we can search that, right? Then we set the remote host, the R host, which is going to be our Linux. Supply the password file and run the module. Use auxiliary scanner SSH login. Set the R host to the private network, Metasploitable. Set user password file home Kali Linux desktop. And then set home Kali. All right, that'll work. So let's go ahead and do that. So use auxiliary scanner SSH login. So now we're gonna go back to our right here, right? And we're gonna say, well, let's search it. That way we understand, like, just in case we don't remember the command. It's he's not finding the command, he's finding the module, right? And then that's how you find the modules. And if you put search SSH, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff, right? But we're looking for SSH login, and it's somewhere in here. You can try to find the right vulnerability. It's most likely one of these excellent ones. SSH private. It's going to be on this side, I think. SSH send key. SSH version. There it is right there. SSH login. I'm going to copy that. And then this one, it says it's good. And it's a persistence. Right? So we're going to use this. So use and then we're gonna paste that. Right? Now it took us to that module. And then now we're gonna set the host. It wants us to set the receiving host, and we want to do that 10.0.0.15, right? Okay, and we can even, and then now we need to set the user and pass file. Now I want to search for user pass. It has to be. I spelled that. I spelled search wrong. Hey. Because I've never used this user pass file before. So, see this one here, Postgres login utility. I mean, I guess this shows you what you can use it with. I have no clue. Scanner, HTTP. Oh wait, interactive module by name or index, for example, info. Oh, let's look at the info. Nothing. Maybe it's a. If this doesn't work, it's fine. We can skip it. I'm just curious. See, I'm just curious about stuff because stuff that I've never used, but that's fine. All right, let's set this. Set user pass file / home Kali. It's always desktop with the capital D. Okay, so now I set the user pass. Oh, crap. I forgot something. Desktop. Ubuntu. It's not going to know what file. The password. TXT. There you go. So now it's going to pull from that file. Now I'm going to run this. Alright. Starting the brute force. Alright, so we're going to go through this. And this was a pain. And it usually is a pain when stuff is deprecated, right? You're going to do these old books. Stuff doesn't work like it used to. So we're going to go over here. And we ran the brute force, right? Let's go back up here and see all this stuff that I did. I mean, I troubleshot this for about at least 30 minutes. So I'm going to tell you the steps I did. So we did this. We were right. Here. Alright, so it said it started the brute force, scanned 1 of 1 hosts, complete auxiliary. Now the thing is that it looks like it was successful, but it's not, because you were trying to brute force, you never got anything back from the brute force. Okay? Then it asked us to check the sessions, and it only showed 1 session here. That means it didn't get the shell, right? It didn't run this SSH login. It didn't successfully get a shell, so you're only going to have 1 session on here, right? because it exploited that vulnerability, but it didn't get the subnet, right? So I troubleshot this for about 30 minutes. The first thing I did was is that I checked all my files, right? I checked my .text file that it was running up here. This set username password Ubuntu text, and that's the first thing you check, right? Because it's it didn't the brute force didn't work, so let's check the text, right? I checked the text. Sure enough, I didn't add my username on there. I just had my password. So I added my username, and I couldn't remember my username. So all you do is go to your Ubuntu and you go to a terminal and you type in who am I, right? And it'll tell you. All right. So then I got my username, and then I knew my password. So I went back to the text username space password. Okay. Fixed that. Ran it again. Still didn't work. Now when I ran it again, I got this deprecated. When I tried to, so I thought, not when I ran it again. I'm sorry. So what I did was I thought, okay, there's nothing wrong with the text. There's nothing wrong with the setting of it. Trying to find it. The address, right? When I set the address. So now I'm going to go back to the auto route. Remember we had a problem with that where it said interpreter scripts are deprecated. So I ran auto route again. Interpreter scripts are deprecated. Okay? It says try to post, manage, auto route, all that crap, whatever. Adding route, could not add route. Okay, so it couldn't add the route, so that's a problem. So I tried all this stuff that it said that doesn't work. So I Googled in Google, I Googled how to route in Metasploit, and it said that you have to add the route now. It's deprecated. So it says, so what I did was I ran this post, whatever, all this stuff said it added it, but it didn't. Checked route, and it had the route in there, right? But then, so that might have worked. Actually, this might have worked. I don't know, but all I did is it said to do that, so I typed in run, and then this host auto run. Nothing happened, and then I just put auto run. Then I did the auto run again, and then I just put run post manage auto route, just like it said, without anything else. And then it said running module against multiple local domains, searching for subnets, route added, and then it said that it added this route. So I think that worked, and I didn't have to add it manually. And then it added that route. So it added that route that I wanted, right? So all you got to do is just, I think, is run and then put in the auto route like that, right? From that same shell, and it adds it. And then I checked the route to see if it added it. It looked like it added it. Okay, ETH1, it added that sucker. So that might have worked, but then I added it manually too, and so I backed out of this. Put it in the background, ran it again, still didn't work, still got this. So I thought, what's going on? It still didn't add the route, even though I had the username and stuff like that. Set auto route, tried a bunch of different stuff, still gave me it's deprecated. So once something's deprecated, you got to go in and figure out, did it all again, same process, backed out. So then I checked the routes from again. It says it's in there. Check the IP config. Says it has it. Try to run it again. I tried all kinds of different stuff. Now, so then I said, I'm gonna add this in. Ran that again. Anyways, give me a second because I don't want to So I got the same thing. Okay. So then I backed out of this interpreter, right? Because we're in our shell for the first session, right? In this Postgres, I think, or wherever. So I backed out of that. I just put it in the background, and then I pulled up the scanner. I'm sorry. Yeah, and just went back. It'll just kept pressing back until I got it to this MSF console again. And I just added the route add, and then I added in the address 1 to session 1, right? You have to Google this and see how to add a route manually. And then check the route. Look like it added it already. It's already in there. Went back to now this is how you go back. You have to Google how do you go back to your sessions, right? And you just put put that in the background. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I. Okay, yeah, I ran it again. Still didn't work, but I pulled up my route table. It looks like it added, from here I could check, see, and it's on here, right? This is the route that I want to take. But and it said there's no IP routes. Pulled it up again. Only one session. Sucks. Anyways, so you have to add it manually, right? Is the moral of the story. Or you can add it like the way I did. You can try both of those, where when you get an error, you follow the instructions on that, mess with it. That's how I got it to run, and I checked my taxes and everything. Still only had one session, but then I checked my my directory, right? And here's the directory: home, desktop, Ubuntu. So how I did that is you just go in here, you go to your thing, and you go to your desktop, open up a terminal, pwd it. It'll show you directory. And then I copied that, and then here's my Ubuntu passwords.txt. I think I was entering in the wrong name for the file, right? So I reset that, in the book, user pass space home Kali Ubuntu passwords.txt, and it still ran it. Still nothing. I mean, it ran it. And then I checked my R host. Your R host is supposed to be 10.15, right? Because that's what I set the Ubuntu to. So now if we go to the Ubuntu, so just check all your settings, right? Here's your Ubuntu, and username's Mike. Where we can tell. And so remember, we went here and we looked at the settings. We looked at this MP4, and it was the address. So we want to put that in as the receiving host, not the gateway, right? So that's one thing. I think I had the gateway in there. Fix that. And it was a success after I fixed that R host, right? It brute forced it. I double checked everything, double checked my text, I double checked my address where I'm pulling from, where my brute force thing was, and I got a success after that, right? And then I entered in the right R host. I added manually the routing. In the book it says use the auto rub, but then it came up said it was deprecated. So I just added in that, I think that worked, and then I added it just for safe measure. And you could Google that, how to add a new route, how to add a route in Metasploit, right? Or yeah. And then it started brute forcing, and then it was successful. I'm not going to scroll down because it's going to show. But what it does is it says successful, and it'll show you the password that was successful with it, and the username. So it'll show you the username and password that was successful, and it tells you that it brute force it got in, and then it opens up 2 sessions. Okay, so now I'm gonna move this over here, and I'm gonna clear this information, but I'm gonna show you the. So that's how you know it's successful, right? So now we can go sessions dash list, and it's gonna show both of my sessions just like in the book. So when stuff is deprecated, this took way too long. It took about 30-45 minutes. So let's see. I wish I could just I mean, I know it doesn't matter, but I don't want to show my password, so we're just gonna clear this, right? And then we're gonna go sessions dash L, and voila. Now I'm in. Now it looks like the book. So now I have 2 sessions, Linux shell, and it's showing that I'm in the Ubuntu victim. So like I said, double check all your stuff. Make sure your username and password is right. Make sure that .text is named right, and make sure you have the name when you set it. Make sure it's right. Make sure you set your address right. Make sure you double check your address. Make sure you set your rhost to whatever your address is on your Ubuntu, not the gateway. Okay, that's another problem I had. And then any deprecated stuff that you run into on these books, you're gonna have to research on what is the new way to do it. And that took me 20 minutes, and I found a video of the dude just saying route. So he had to back out and go into the main MSF console and just saying route add, and then the route you wanted to add, right? And that actually works. And then you could just press route to see if it was added, or you can follow what the deprecation instructions set up to. That might have worked too. I don't know. I just did both because nothing was working. And you could just add route, and then you could post whatever it had that, and that's it. Not any kind of route numbers or anything. And what it does is it searches for routes that it finds, and then it adds them. Okay, so you could have did it like that. So I think I had a lot of problems in there, but I got it to work. Here it is. Okay, now let's move on. It just took forever, and I want to hurry up and finish at least this section, right? And if you have any questions about it, post on there and on the video, and I'll answer them better. All right, so now it looks like this. Okay, session 2 is the Linux shell running on the Ubuntu machine. The connection, great, we figured it out. We got it running, man. Awesome. I love when we can do that. The connection column shows the connection to the shell flow from the Kali Linux to the Metasploitable to this network. So we actually did it, right? We went into a private network doing that, using a pivot. To execute commands on the Ubuntu virtual machine, run the following command to select session 2 and try running the terminal like ls. So we're going to go session 2. So we're going to go to session 2. So we're going to, and then we're going to run a ls to see if we're in there. And then who am I, right? Because we want to see who we are. So Kali, we're going to go session 2, sessions 2. Starting interaction with session 2, because this is the session 2 we want to interact with now. And hopefully that works. Man, does it say to do that from that terminal still? Okay, I think we're in there. Maybe not. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, so now we're gonna ls. So let's ls and see, and then who am I? So ls. Yep, those are what we have on the desktop. Let's see, who am I? And we're Mike. So that was my username, Mike, right? I mean, come on, it's just common sense. So look, there you go. I'm in there. Now let's go to desktop. ls. Now I'm just looking around the system. I don't have anything on here, so I'm not gonna have anything in there. Let's see where I went. It should be on the desktop. Yeah, home, Mike, desktop. See, so now that's awesome, right? We're looking around the network, and God, I learned so much. I learned a tremendous amount in this video. It's just freaking awesome. And the troubleshooting is what made me learn more. Because I'm like, what, I'm navigating around this, and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. But me troubleshooting it and getting it to work right opened up my eyes to what was really happening, what we're doing. And we basically, I mean, it's just awesome. Basically scanned the network for vulnerabilities, got into it, then we scanned the whatever thing we compromised, any device we compromised, because we at that time we're not gonna know what it is. We're just gonna try everything, and then we scanned to see if it was connected to any other networks, and we found that it was by running the what command did we run? Anyways, the route. So we found the route, discovered it, and then we said, okay, now we're going to add that route, and then we basically from that server or whatever we were in, we routed it, and then we took advantage of another vulnerability to do an SSH login to get into the Ubuntu one. Now, in reality, you're gonna have to have, you're gonna have to. Hopefully, you can get in if you've got the right username and password. You're gonna do some OSINT, but then I guess, just showing you how it's capable. You're able to do it. Now, if you look into the next one, I guess you can. They're gonna have us writing an attacker proxy. And stuff like that, but I think we're gonna call it a day on this one. This is a long video, and we accomplished something pretty cool. Learned a lot, and we got it to work this time, right? With some troubleshooting, and like I said, double check everything. And when stuff is deprecated, do your research and make sure you can find out why it's deprecated and what are the substitutes and what do you do to fix it, right? And usually it tells you, this is deprecated, run this. And then so you're going to have to mess around with that to see if you can get it to add a different way, right? Or you can get it to work a different way. All right, so that was HackTheFile. That was a long one. I hope you learned something, and I will see you next time. Have fun.